biggest question I get as an EV charging consultant is, how do I start my own EV charging business and how will I make money? Well, that's what we'll be covering today. I'll be going over all the steps needed to start your own EV charging business, and I'll teach you what to look out for so you can start making money as soon as possible. If you're new here, my name's Trevor, and if not, welcome back to the channel. First off, there's a very big difference between the EV charging company and the host of the EV chargers. If you're not sure of the difference, I go into much more detail in another video, but simply put, the difference is the EV charging company is the one that sells the EV chargers, and the host is the one that buys the EV chargers and places them at their location for EV drivers to come and use. Today, we'll be talking about the EV charging company and the 6 main ways that they make money, as well as the steps needed for each one. All right, let's dive in. The first and probably the most obvious way that EV charging companies make money is through selling the physical EV chargers themselves. But where do the EV chargers come from? Some of the really big EV charging companies like Tesla make their own EV chargers, but I'd say the vast majority of EV charging companies just order their chargers from different manufacturers all over the world. And once they receive them, they just stick their logo on top. You'd be surprised at how many EV charging companies actually order chargers from the same manufacturers as their competitors. That's why you'll often see a lot of the chargers from different companies often look exactly the same. There are EV charging manufacturers all over the world. Some are more expensive and some are less expensive. Remember, the cheaper the charger that you order, the more money you could potentially make by reselling it and marking up the price. But I'd highly recommend going for a higher quality charger because the success of your business is literally depending on these chargers working. If they go down or dysfunction, it will be you that has to answer the questions, and selling subpar chargers will definitely hurt the reputation of your business. Also, different chargers have different functions and capabilities. They all kind of work differently and can do different things. I'd recommend reaching out to a few different manufacturers and ordering one charger from each to use as a test run. This way you can see how they work and check out the quality before you make a decision on a supplier. So after a client has decided that your EV charging company is the right fit and they've decided to move forward and order your chargers to host at their location, they still need to be installed, right? This is the second way that EV charging companies make money, and it's through the project cost or the installation. Also, just a side note, when I say client or host, it's essentially the same thing. It's just whoever's buying your chargers and placing them at their location for EV drivers to use. It's basically just your customer. Sometimes EV charging companies, especially the bigger ones, will have electricians working for them in-house, but often they'll just contract out the project to an outside electrician to take care of the installation and just handle the project for them. Often the installation is pretty straightforward and not that expensive, but there are cases, especially in older buildings, that will require more work, and the cost of installation will be more expensive. The biggest thing to look out for is if the building requires an electrical service upgrade. You can guarantee the cost of the project is going to go up pretty substantially. But you'll have all this information sorted out before the client places the order. You'll most likely have stopped by the site with an electrician to take a look at everything, to get a cost of the installation, and that will be included in the quote that you send the client before they sign off and move forward. The installation will be the most expensive part of the project, and it will likely be the biggest factor that swings the customer's decision to move forward or not. Because this is such an essential part of the customer's decision, it may behoove you to try and keep the cost of the installation as low as possible. Now, this doesn't mean lose money. I'm just trying to remind you that there will be other ways to make money from this deal. The third way that an EV charging company makes money is a big step. This will likely be the biggest hurdle that you'll have to overcome as a newly formed EV charging company. And this is the software side of things, or the app. This is the most complicated step and potentially the most expensive initial investment into the company. But not to fear, I'll walk you through the essentials. Technically, an EV charging company is called the network operator. And this is the network side of the network operator. EV chargers for public use need to be connected to the internet. This is so that they can work properly and be managed on the back end, as well as process payments, among other reasons. This is where the networking fee comes in. So a client, or a host, I should say, that has a charger connected to your app is essentially using your software services. And common practice for this is to bill them a monthly rate per charger for using these services. Again, this is called a networking fee. I've come across a pretty wide range of how much companies bill for their networking fees, but to be safe, I'd say it's pretty fair to estimate $25 per month per charger. This actually might be on the low end, and it's not super uncommon for the networking fee to go up to around $50 a month, and this is per charger. But in order to bill for networking fees, you need to have a network. And in order to have a network, you need to have an app. There are a few ways that you can get your own app. You can hire a company to custom build one from scratch. If you decide to do this, make sure that they've done this before and they're familiar with how EV charging company networks work, because it's not always common knowledge. The benefit to developing your own app is that it'll be fully customizable and you can make sure it has the look and feel that you want. Or the second option is you can buy an app that's already developed or pre-built. There are companies that are specifically EV charging software companies that have already built the app, and you can buy it from them and just stick your logo on it. They will also help you manage the network, which is a pretty big deal. Again, you'd be surprised at how many EV charging companies actually use the same app and just white label it by changing the color and sticking their logo on it. The main software company that comes to mind is a company called ChargeLab. I've done a few training sessions with them and they're fantastic. It wouldn't hurt to just give them a shout and see what their offer is in your area. The great thing about networking fees is that it's recurring revenue that your business can rely on. It's a steady stream of income for your business that is guaranteed month after month. So it will help you budget and plan for the future. There's actually one more form of recurring revenue that your business can rely on, but I'm going to get to that in the next video. Originally, I planned to go over all 6 steps in one video, but the first 3 is already a lot of information, and I don't want to overload you and complicate things. So I'm going to save them for the next video where I can go into much more detail on them. That video will be coming up next week, so stay tuned. In the meantime, thanks so much for checking in, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.